Good morning, students. Today we are going to start the second chapter of history, kings, farmers, and towns. That is early states and economics. Along with this lesson, I would like to share the summary of the chapter and an assignment. Please try to understand this chapter and try to find out the answers of these questions. 19th century was considered an important century for the study of epigraphy. Epigraphy means study of inscriptions, how to decode inscriptions, that is epigraphy. In 1830, James Prinsep, an officer of English East India Company, deciphered Brahmi and Kharoshthi script. These scripts were used in the earliest inscriptions and coins. In these inscriptions, king was referred as Piya Dasi or Piya Dashi. It means pleasant to behold. After deciphering these inscriptions, only we came to know about early kingdoms like the Mauryan Empire. In 6th century BC is considered as an important turning point in the history of India because early states and kingdoms developed in this century. Cities and towns began to develop in 6th century BC. Growing use of iron started in 6th century BC. The development of coinage also started in 6th century BC. Growth of new schools of thought also started in 6th century BC, that is Jainism and Buddhism. So we can conclude 6th century BC was an important period in the history of India. I will repeat that points once again, why 6th century BC is considered as an important period in the history of India. Early states and kingdoms developed, cities and towns began to develop, growing use of iron started, the development of coinage started, growth of new schools and thought like Jainism and Buddhism also started in 6th century BC. As I told just now, 6th century BC, new states and kingdoms developed. About 16 new states developed in 6th century BC. Collectively, we call them as 16 Mahajanapadas. Sometimes it is also called Janapadas. Large states were called Mahajanapadas, small one is called Janapadas. And these Janapadas and Mahajanapadas ruled by king. Some of the Janapadas are also called Ganas or Sanghas. A number of men collectively ruled these Gana or Sangha called Rajas. Each Mahajanapada had a capital city. The capital city was fortified, and during this period, the Brahmins began to compose Sanskrit text. And the most important Sanskrit text was called Dharma Sutra. In Dharma Sutra, the scholar explains the norms of the kings or the rulers of Mahajanapada. What were the norms mentioned in Dharma Sutra? First, rulers must belong to Kshatriya clan. They were advised to collect taxes. They were required to take contribution from farmers and traders. And these taxes and contributions used for maintaining capital and the army. Again, I repeat, Dharma Sutra explains the norms of the rulers. They were advised to belong to the Kshatriya clan, to collect taxes, to take contributions from various sections of the society, and all these money taxes they used to maintain the army and the capital city. I said there were 16 Mahajanapadas. Out of the 16 Mahajanapadas, the most important Janapada was Magadha. Normally we call Magad, the pronunciation is Magadha. So out of 16 Mahajanapadas, the most important Janapada was Magadha. And Magadha rose to power in 6th century BC and continued up to 4th century BC. Normally, a question asked in the paper, why Magadha became most important Mahajanapada? What are the reasons behind it? The main reasons are like follows. Number one, Magadha produced large quantities of agricultural products. So they produced sufficient agricultural product. Second point, iron mines provided sufficient resources for tools and weapons. Elephant, an important component of the army, was present in the forest. River Ganga provided water and means of cheap transportation. Above all, their kings were very ambitious. Thus, Magadha rose to power. I repeat, Magadha produced large quantities of agricultural product. They had sufficient iron mines that provided large quantities of resources for making tools and weapons. Elephant, an important component of the army, was present in the forest, and the rivers, especially Ganga, provided water and means of transport, and the king of Magadha was very ambitious. Thus, Magadha rose to power, and Magadha was developed in the present city of Bihar. Its capital was called Rajagaha, the present Rajgir, later shifted to Pataliputra, present Patna. Let us proceed to the early kingdoms in 6th century BC. And the most important kingdom is the Mauryan kingdom or Mauryan Empire. First of all, let us talk about the source material for the study of the Mauryan Empire. The source materials are, there are 6 major source material for the study of Mauryan Empire. The first one, archaeological materials. Second, account of Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. Third, Arthashastra written by Kautilya or Chanakya. Fourth, Buddha, Jaina texts. Fifth, Puranic literature or Sanskrit literature. Sixth, Ashokan inscriptions, especially on rocks and pillars. These were the source material to study about the Mauryan Empire. I repeat, archaeological materials, ancient book of Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador to Chandragupta Maurya's court, Arthashastra written by Kautilya or Chanakya, Jaina Buddha text, Puranic literature, Sanskrit literature, and Ashokan inscriptions, especially on rocks and pillars. And the most important point to be noted in Mauryan Empire is the administrative structure of the Mauryan Empire. So let us talk something about the administrative structure of the Mauryan Empire. Ashokan Empire was a very vast empire. It extended from Pakistan to Andhra Pradesh, including Orissa and Uttarakhand. So it was a very vast empire. So how Ashoka or other Mauryan rulers administered this vast territory? The first point you must keep in mind that for the administrative purpose, Ashoka divided the empire into 4 provinces. So there were five major political centers. First being the capital Pataliputra, and other four provincial centers were Taxila, Ujjain, Tosali, and Suvarnagiri. I repeat, the five political centers: Pataliputra, the capital of the empire; other four provincial centers: Taxila, Ujjain, Tosali, and Suvarnagiri. But whether they had a uniform system of administration or not, we are not very clear about it. But according to scholars, they had a uniform system of administration. And they had an extensive system of communication, both on land and on water. They had a strong standing army. According to Megasthenes, the ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya, in his account we find there were 6 committees and subcommittees for coordinating military activities. Which are those committees? Number 1, the first committee looked after Navy. Second committee looked after the transport and communication. Third looked after foot soldiers. Fourth looked after horses. Fifth looked after chariots. And the sixth looked after elephant. It was a well organized army, worked under 6 committees. One looked after the navy, second looked after the transport and communication, third on foot soldiers, fourth on horses, fifth on chariots, and sixth elephant. There were other committees also looked after bullock carts. These bullock carts used to carry weapons. These bullock carts used to carry food for soldiers, fodder for the animals. So there were a number of other committees also attached to the military settlement. Ashoka tried to unify his empire by propagating a very important principle called Dhamma. Ashokan Dhamma is very, very important principle. What is the principle of Dhamma? It included respect towards elders, showing generosity towards the Brahmins, treat slaves, servants very kindly, respect religions and traditions. This is a summary of his principle of Dhamma. I'll repeat. Dhamma included respect towards elders, generosity towards Brahmins, treating everyone equal, including slaves, servants, respect all religions and traditions. Now, what was the aim of this Dhamma? The aim of Dhamma was to ensure well-being of the people, and special officers were appointed to propagate this policy, and the officers were called Dhamma Mahamatra. I repeat, aim was to ensure the well-being of the people, and special officers were appointed to look after this policy, Dhamma, and the officers were called Dhamma Mahapatra. Somewhere it is called Dhamma Mahamata. And I am concluding today's class here, and next class we'll talk about new notions of kingship. Thank you.